They were doing it on a short timeline, and it was so much work compacted into that time that there were moments where it felt like it might not happen.
I knew that what they have done in the past wasn't going to work for our space, so I knew that we would have our work cut out for us.
It's a piece titled Spinner Forest. It's setting the tone. It's an aha moment. It's something it's fantastical, it's beautiful, it's architectural.
It's not like a painting where you can see it in its entirety anywhere. What it is and what it looks like won't be seen until we all see it for the first time once it's put up.
It settles and calms me down. And I think it's this movement. It's so subtle, it's almost mesmerizing.
Another method we were going to use was to connect the beams together and then raise the whole thing up in one go. So we certainly gave that a try, but it just wasn't going to work.
When it's 4,000 items, 40,000 pounds, and hanging 40 feet in the air, to do it safely, with pride, and on time, that's why we do this job.
I'm confident that it's going to be spectacular. Hi, I'm Nick Cave, an artist that lives and works in Chicago. I'm also a professor at the School of the Art Institute. A fragment of this installation is at the entry point of an exhibition that I have up at the Museum of Contemporary Art. So the prep team, I think what's been interesting is that they also flew to Chicago. So they were able to sort of talk and work closely with the preparators in Chicago about the apparatus that they had to create in order to support the installation.
My name's Darren Inglis McQuay. I'm a preparator here at Remai Modern. My background, a little bit like in my 20s, I did a lot of rock climbing and a lot of whitewater kayaking, and so both of those pursuits use ropes and pulleys and ascenders and descenders and setting up safe anchors and all that kind of stuff. So I have that background, and so that certainly helps with the rigging side to get all those beams up there. I need this to be right up here in order to connect the next piece. And the pulleys are too low, and so it doesn't fit.
I think it's so much prep work that goes before the piece even is installed. I mean, just getting the spinners prepped and on cables and the assemblage of that is going to take every bit of maybe a month.
My name is Jillian Sisa. I'm the collections registrar here at Remai Modern. Our technical coordinator drew up a whole map of the different lengths of strands that we need in different areas. And then for the different lengths, he'd assigned a different color. Because the strands that arrived here, because the layout of the work was different in different spaces, the strands didn't come in the right lengths. So we transformed our loading bay, because that was the one area in the building that was long enough and had enough space that we just kind of temporarily made it into a workshop. Unpacked these strands of the spinners, adjusted the lengths, and then had to pack them back up because we had to bring them into the atrium. But the preps all did that. I just told them to do it and made color-coded stickers for them.
You put this color, this color, this color in the same box, so they'll be marked appropriately.
As you can see with the green, those go up 1 foot. And same how you go around here. So as you go down the stairs, it goes down 1 foot with each time you go down with each color, which is of course so it doesn't hit anyone on the head, but also it's for the safety of the work. So we want it to look very in your face and that you can touch it, but we don't want people to touch it.
And so, I came here and we sort of looked at the sort of infrastructure that's already in place and sort of the weight load. Imagining 15 spinners on these cables. Well, these spinners, one spinner weighs maybe 3 pounds. And so, 15, 20 pounds is really heavy.
My name is Chad Reddell, and I work at the Remai Modern, and I am the supervisor of exhibitions and collections. Here at the Remai Modern, we have very high standards. MCA installation was great, but I knew we would have to design and figure out something completely different. Because our strands are so long, they weigh more, so we actually had to find equipment that was rated for a hanging load, which specialized everything. Everything all of a sudden became harder to find. Just sourcing everything was a challenge with today's supply issues.
And then they have motors, and so, how much weight can the motor handle, and do we need to upgrade the motor?
The motors spin the strands that hang from the hanging structure. In the past, the strands were half or less the weight we're using. So they were able to use a motor that was readily available, for example, like a disco ball motor. In Chicago, they had issues with them, so I knew from what they had expressed to me that we wouldn't be able to use them.
It's heavy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That alone is like...
So you'll have like 150 of these.
Weight.
There's 200 motors, so obviously sound is a concern. So I had prototypes made in a lab in Florida, and it worked out great, but then they weren't able to supply me on time. So I had to find something ready-made. Oddly enough, I found motors that were manufactured in Illinois, just outside of Chicago. So a lot of the motors are intended for ice machines or pizza conveyor ovens and stuff like that. Basically, I had to buy all the load-rated motors in North America to supply this project.
I think my work really settles into looking at what is going on in the world. Spaces that sort of speak about injustice, inequality, relationships with police and with youth. And so I'm sort of really thinking about the role of sort of gun violence. May it be black on black crime, may it be gun violence between police and unarmed black men. So the imagery is anywhere from equality symbols, smiley face, peace symbol, heart, symbols that really sort of speak about love and sort of harmony and togetherness and unity in this remarkable way. But there are guns. There are bullets, there are teardrops that are also integrated within the piece. So it's almost like a constellation of sorts, as if you're sort of on your back looking up at the stars twinkling. And then all of a sudden, as you get closer to the piece, you're sort of like hit right in the stomach, because you're like now encountering these guns and these bullets and these teardrops. So you're just confused with like what you thought you were experiencing is all of a sudden sort of hardening with this other emotion that is confusing, that is complicated, that is scary. But at the same time, this is kind of the world in which we're kind of living in, and how do we sort of, through all of that, still try to find harmony and balance and optimism and hope.
Myself, I'm much more interested in helping the artists to design how they're going to display their work. Nick Cave is all about that. This particular install is all about that.
Very much involved in working as a social practice artist, and so I'm really in the communities, folding them into projects and working in a way where they get recognized through my practice.
We originally had some specialized contractors hired to do some of the lifting of the steel beams and the aluminum beams, but it fell through. So in the end, my team successfully, we did it ourselves.
A little bit of slack, please.
It showed us that we are capable of anything, really.
We saw it coming into shape last week, and we realized that it was an incredible piece and that it was everything that we had imagined. But coming down here and seeing it in the context of this party and the lights and the buzz and the people, we realized that we really brought something special to Saskatoon.
People are having an overwhelming feeling of joy, and their eyes light up, and they just have a moment with the artwork.
The first time it turned on, and the sun was shining in it, and we didn't even have all the strands hanging yet. It just was like, you know, it's hard to not have that knee-jerk reaction, like, wow, this is really cool.
They just met every challenge along the way with a smile and with good solutions. They're incredible problem solvers.
I think the exciting thing is that moment as I walk through that front door. It's going to be that kind of incredible sort of moment that I sort of know, and that I have created the piece to have that moment. It's going to be like, it's going to be this amazing sort of introduction to what this museum inspires to be.